way back, many years ago, I was looking at the Late Late Show, and I was listening to Daniel O'Donnell, of all people. And Daniel O'Donnell said something about how wonderful it was for him to get up out of bed every day and to go and do something that he loved doing. And he referred to the droves of people leaving Donegal on a Sunday evening on buses to go into all corners of Ireland, and how depressed they seemed and how unhappy they were because they were going off to work that they didn't enjoy doing and they couldn't wait for Friday. And I think that's an awful way to live, and an awful lot of us do live that way. We spend an awful lot of our time very unhappy at work. And I would say, look, it's up to you as an individual to find that work that you will find inspiring. Steve Jobs, very famous. He was the founder of Apple. Later he went on to, I think, founder of Pixar, and had a lot of responsibility for the animated movies. But he would claim that, you know, the only way that you're going to be truly satisfied to do what you believe is great work, and the only way to do great work is to do what you love to do, or to love what you do. And he spoke that at a presentation of degree certificates or degree graduation to a talk in a university somewhere in America, and I saw a recording of it. And within that himself, he referred to the fact that he went to college, but he pulled out of it after a few months. He never did a degree, and yet he had great success. Now, I don't know what other training he went on to do, but he certainly had a lot of life experience and had a very, very successful career. So I would say, you know, you really should find work that you do find inspiring. There's all sorts of surveys. I was listening to Maura and Daithí on RTE there a few weeks ago, and they were discussing a survey that was done somewhere in the UK, and the figures were that something like 80, I think it was 83%. The heading it was reported in the Daily Mirror. That 83% of people that had conducted the survey indicated that they were interested in changing jobs. When you read down it indicated 45% of people actually hate their jobs. And I know the people that were on the panel were questioning was there any real truth in this. So Maura and Daithí put out a survey on RTE, on Facebook and Twitter, and they got back figures which almost matched them identically. And I found those reports from here. Look at 85% of people, this is in a Gallup survey, 85% of people indicate that they hate their jobs. 80% of people on a LinkedIn survey, and that's professionals, and not many of you will be on LinkedIn. 80% of people on LinkedIn don't enjoy or hate their jobs. This time last year, or a little bit later than that, out in April last year, I did a small survey on Facebook and Twitter, and 55% of respondents said that they don't feel that they are valued at work. Now, if you don't feel valued at work, how can you do a good job? And I look at these days, when we look at there's a lot of word of the nurses on strike. There's a lot of people in other industries feeling the same as them. And okay, while pay is referred to an important part, and they're out there looking for extra pay, pay would tend to be a measure of what you feel that you're being, of the appreciation that you're receiving. And an awful lot of people, I believe, within the nursing profession, it's not necessarily just pay that's wrong, but that they feel that they're working very, very hard and they don't feel appreciated for what they're doing. And an awful lot of you probably, you know, if you're thinking of changing, it's very important to feel appreciated in what you do. And if you're going to find work that you love, you need to feel appreciated. So I'm going to ask you, ladies and gentlemen, what do you feel is important for your job if you're going to be successful? And I suppose I'm going to start and I move out. Okay, hope you can hear me. I'll shout a bit louder because I said this. I'd rather out among the audience when I do. Why do you go to work at all? What do we want from our work? And I'm going to ask you for answers if you can. Money. Money, okay. What do you want money for? Okay, to live. To live. Okay, we want money for live. We do. We want money for basic needs. We want to put clothes on our back, we want to put food on the table, we want to put a roof over our head. That be right? Okay. What else do we want money for? Travelling. Pardon? Travelling. Okay, we want to travel. Okay, so we want a bit more money. We want money for socialising. Okay, what else do we want money for? To be safe in the future. Saving for the future, because in case you want to buy something bigger.
Yeah. A renovated home.
Pardon?
Home. If you don't have home.
Oh yes, for home. Yes, for home. My apologies. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. We want money for different things, but we want it from basic needs, but we also want it for a bit of luxuries. We want to be able to travel. We want to buy a nice car. We don't just want to live in a shack. We want to have a comfortable home. So we want to feel good about what we have. We want to feel good about ourselves. We want to buy, something more than the basics, something that we feel good about. Okay, so that's money. So what else do we want out of work? Fulfillment. Okay, so we want fulfillment. How do you get fulfillment from your work? Something you enjoy doing. Okay, right? So fulfillment, enjoyment. Anything else in that area? You want to feel you're making an impact. Absolutely. We all want to feel we're making a contribution. And how many people are working out there? And again, I think of the nurses because they're in highlight at the moment with the strikes. How many nurses feel that they're making a contribution, but they feel that someone else doesn't appreciate them for their contribution? So you're not alone want to feel a contribution, you want to be recognised for it. And we're all the same. Okay, so is there anything else? Okay, apart from that area of self-esteem and feeling good about it and feeling appreciated, is there anything else we want from our work?
Company benefits.
Company benefits. Okay, yeah, well that's part of the pay. Okay, that's part of the package and that's part of the reward. Okay, company benefits, absolutely. That's really going back to pay of one form or another. But is there... Pardon? Nice colleagues, absolutely, 100%. And I worked in the I said I had 28 years in the public service. It was in the agricultural industry. And 30 or 40 years ago, nearly every farmer sold his produce sold his animals, would say cattle and sheep, in a livestock mart. Today, an awful lot of them are being sold directly to the factories. So the farmer has no reason to go to the mart anymore. So an awful lot of them are very much isolated. But I know an awful lot of farmers who, while don't have any produce to sell in the mart, they still go to the mart. They go to the mart, and it's, whether they realise it or not, it's literally to meet their neighbours, to meet their colleagues, to talk about things that are important. And that's part of a group of people, your sense of belonging. I worked, as I said, 28 years in the public service. If I wanted to talk to colleagues, I could pick up the phone. I could walk out of my office and go into an office next door. I could meet them for coffee. When I left, last May I left. 1st of May was my first day out on my own. Suddenly, I was a sole trader. So I didn't have a sense of belonging. But I joined a business network group in Galway. I meet there every Thursday morning. Suddenly I have a sense of belonging again. I have a group of people that I can identify with. And I can identify with those people all over the world. It has led me to be able to go. Last week I was in Dubai visiting friends, and I was able to get an invitation to a meeting in the World Trade Center in Dubai, which I would never have expected to be able to do. You know, it's just something, and it was through my business, my network that was able to get me there. So these are things we want. But okay, so we want all those things. But I would say to you, why don't you join some sort of a criminal gang? Well, you'd certainly have a sense of belonging. You'd have your comrades, wouldn't you? You'd have money for all the basic needs, but you'd also be able to buy a nice, comfortable car. You'd be able to buy a luxurious house. But what's wrong with it? It's a risky business. Okay, okay. Risky business. There's one reason. Okay. It's immoral. Okay, it doesn't fit in with our honesty, our integrity, the things that are important to us. We don't want to do that. We want to feel we're making a contribution. Many years ago, on a summer job from college, I got a job. I was working. I'm from Galway, but I was working in a job in Cork, and I was looking after the picking of fruit on a fruit farm, and that was a fairly short season. It was about 7 or 8 weeks. And there was a friend of mine was working in a sales job out of Cork City. And he said they were recruiting, so I applied for a job, and I got the job. Basically what I was doing was I'd arrive into the office in Cork City every morning. I'd meet with the team, and there was a team leader and maybe 3 of us, team leader plus 3 other colleagues, sat into his car, and we drove out. We decided maybe today we'll attack Mallow, for sake of argument. And what we were selling were children's books. We were selling for charity. We were knocking on doors. I remember I had a particular target that I wanted to sell on a daily basis. I wanted to make a decent week's wages, and it was going great. Once I'd hit my target, I could have the target hit in a couple of hours, or it might take me a long day. But once I had it hit, I really didn't care about the rest of the day. And everything was going well until one day I sat down and I literally worked out how much this charity was getting. And I was getting 30% of what I was selling. The fellow who was driving the car got another 10%. I've no idea what, there was 2 bosses of the company, I have no idea what they get, but I can presume they probably got 20% each. That's now 80% of the price of the books was gone, and what I was selling for charity. The books had to be bought and the office had to be paid for. When I did the sums on this, I said, God, this charity is getting nothing. And I suddenly couldn't sell anymore. I felt I was doing wrong, and I literally left the job. Now, it was coming towards the end of the summer before I did this, so it happens. But I literally, it didn't fit in with my values. So really, there's another thing, and I suppose we could say, you might get, in your job, you might get a lot of opportunities to work overtime, work long hours, and make more money. But is there a problem with that? No? Absolutely. It come across, it doesn't fit in with your work-life balance. And so if we look, I'll just summarize where we're at. Okay. The first area, our physiological needs, our sense of security, these are really our basic and safety needs. We want to fit in with part of a team, to get on with colleagues, your sense of belonging. Next one, you have a feeling of self-worth, feeling appreciated, good income standard, a good living income, nice home, car, holidays. These are all things you gave me. I didn't magically write them down very quickly. You had a feeling of importance, that you've maybe a successful title. And I suppose the bottom one there, feeling of power. Some people that is very important to them. And unfortunately for others, some people in the team might be valuing the sense of belonging and valuing the contribution they make, whereas they're working with somebody who really values a sense of power, and there might be a conflict. And that is another area that can lead to major conflict within the workplace. The contribution you're making, you feel very important to it, but your boss maybe is only interested in impressing his boss and doesn't really care about you. So that's to do with self-esteem and self-actualization. Those first 3, most of you will have heard at some stage of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. They happen to be it. Now, when I came up with this program, I wasn't coming up with it from a Maslow's hierarchy of needs, but then I discovered that actually is what it is. And the final area, I said, it must fit in with your values, honesty, integrity. Maybe you like to help others, and to fit in with your work-life balance. So I said it must fit in with your values. So I would say if any of us look at the job that we're in today, and if there's a problem in it, I can guarantee you that the problem that you have within it, if there's something that's creating dissatisfaction, can be attributed to one of those, probably 2, 3 or 4. There's probably some area there that needs to be addressed. And maybe within your job, maybe that's all you need to do. Maybe you need to redress that balance within the job. But for an awful lot of people, what they need to do is find a change of career so they can address those in the new career. And certainly if you're changing career, it's important to try and satisfy those requirements. So you need to ask yourself, does your career satisfy all of those? So the next thing I'm going to look at is, what are the factors then you need to consider in career planning? And I believe that there's a step-by-step process. And I say the first step is literally that you should decide that you want to actively manage your career. When I say decide, I mean take a conscious decision. Things are not going the way I want them to be. I'm going to do something about it, and I'm going to commit to doing something about it. Now, you may need help in doing this. You may need help and support. As I said, it took me 6 years to make the move, even though 6 years previously I had decided I wanted to move. But we procrastinated, we put things off. We put things on the long finger. We listen to people telling us, look, you're crazy, you have a great job, what would you want moving for? And I'm coming across people like that all of the time, and yet they don't feel inspired. If you don't feel inspired, it's time for you to do something about it. Life is too short to waste it on doing something that you're not happy doing. And at whatever stage you're at in life, it's never too late. It's never too late to start to make that change. Problem is, how do you do it? And I'd say the first thing I'm calling there becoming self-aware. And it's really important that you look at all the stuff that you have done in the past. Look at your areas of interest, what you valued, what your abilities are. Ideally you look at the things you've done in the past, particularly that you've enjoyed doing. Not just what you're good at doing. And think about your CV. A lot of people come in here today to look for help preparing the CV. And that's all very, very good, but you need to be careful what you put in your CV. There's probably things that you're doing at the moment in your job that you're very good at, but you don't particularly like doing. But because you're good at them, you're going to put them on your CV. So they could very, very quickly lead you back into a job that you're trying to get away from. So it's very important that you try and distinguish what are the things that you want to do and what you like to do from the things that you're good at. And hopefully there'll be an overlap, that you will have a lot of things you like doing that you are also good at. I suppose another thing there, in relation to finding the things that you're good at, maybe you will find something that, as a child, I always wanted to do X, Y, or Z. I always wanted to become a rally driver. I always wanted to become, I don't know, I always wanted to become a teacher. But I never did, I never went through the education. Bring those things back in, look back, rekindle your dreams, because maybe there are some small little things you can do that will allow you to now to realize your dreams. So it's not just what you know, it's what you might have known or what you might have liked to do, and investigate them and look at those. When you look at all the stuff that you've done in the past or what you've thought in the past, use that to build a picture of what you would like to do in the future. I can safely say over the period of time, when I decided to say in 2012 that I wanted to move, I found nowhere where I could find that help to get that direction. I started studying and I started attending courses. I started following different motivational speakers. I did a graduate leadership development program in the IMI in Dublin, which was a level 9, which was to do with leadership and change. And an awful lot of that brought an influence into me as to try and help me figure out what I wanted to do. I read a lot of books. And I built a process that helped me build literally a one-page picture of what I wanted my ideal career to satisfy. And when I had built, then I realized I'm not going to find this job. I'm going to have to create the job. For more people, you will build up a situation, you'll come to a situation and find, okay, that will identify a job. So the next step, once your picture is filled, is really then to identify 3 or 4 or 5 career areas and investigate those, turn them into specific job areas, investigate those to see if there are things you would like. Do you need to do further education? How many people get to a point where they decide they don't like the job they're in? So what they do is they look up a course and say, I'll do a course, it might get me into something better. I would say before you do the course, figure out what you want to do and make sure the course is training you to do for something that you want to do. Once you identify what you might like to do, would you buy a dress without trying it on? Would you buy a suit without trying it on? Well, why do we all take jobs without trying them on? Find out whether you will like the job or not. Go and visit people who are doing that job. Talk to people who are doing that job. Job shadow. Volunteer your service for a little while to see if this is genuinely an area that you would like. Because only then will you be in a position to make that decision and to be involved in your own decision and become proactive. So ladies and gentlemen, that is by and large a summary of the stuff that I do in my business. I've sent around a couple of clipboards there for people to put their name and contact details if they have any interest in receiving some information. I don't bombard people with information. I send out very, very little, and you might be 6 months' time and say, I never heard from that fella, and that's quite possible. But if you have any interest in receiving some information, put your name on that list. I have a business cards here if you want to. I'll be here for a little while afterwards if people want to talk. But just a brief summary of what I'm doing. Basically, I would say what you need to do is you need to decide and make the decision, a conscious decision, that you're going to do something about your career. Examine the past and use this to help you draw a picture of the future. Identify options from that. Then test out those options. That's what I'm saying, trying those on. Pick one or maybe 2 and go for it. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. If people want to ask any questions, I'll try and answer them. I'm not too sure how this format works. I'm here, but I'll be here to talk to you on an individual basis if you want to as well for a little while.